Hey everybody. So we are excited to go live with Marci Barker today.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you for letting me be a part of this conversation. I am still in Ogden, Utah, born and raised here. I am one of 8 kids, and my mom had 8 kids by age 30, so she has a ticket into heaven. I grew up with the mindset that you get married and you have children, and that's kind of what you're here to do. And luckily, it served me as long as it needed to. And then once I started to change my life and decide really what I wanted, that's where a lot of the mental struggles came in terms of finding myself, finding how I operate, finding what path I need to be on to be happy. But I have been married for 15 years. I found my husband in the parking lot of Walmart. So I say, if you can't find it at Walmart, you don't need it. And we have 4 daughters, and I still have not gone crazy yet, even though I'm raising 4 daughters. So I like to spend my time working out. I teach all the fitness classes at the pool when it's warm outside, and I like to have neighbors over for dinner. And if you ever find me at my computer, I'm working. I'm working with clients because I absolutely love what I do. I am number 6 out of 8, and my parents were still together up until last year. They were married for 40 years. I always found joy in having a set of principles that made a lot of sense for the future of my life. But where things kind of went weary was my dad believed that the success of his life rested on how well his children turned out. My dad started to lose his identity because he couldn't control this group of children anymore. And
Okay.
I started my online personal training and fitness business in 2015, and I got to a point where I was helping all of my clients hit the peak of their physical wellness, but I would still see them talking trash on their mother-in-law, complaining about their marriage, just having all these other issues in their life that I was like, a physical fit body doesn't solve those problems. So there's got to be the correlation between physical health and emotional health and mental health. And I run my life and my business by the saying, true happiness comes only when our spirits learn to control our bodies, training them to be governed by the laws of God. So I've always had this really strong connection of, if somebody wants to create health in their life, it needs to be on all levels. And for some people that starts physically, and for some people it has to start mentally. So I got to this point where people were kind of looking at me like, oh, you have it all, you're slim, you have 4 kids, you're in this happy marriage. But they had no idea that I was trying to maintain a relationship with everybody in my family, and I would leave my parents' house crying because my dad was mad about something, about another kid not following his rules, or me not coming over to help chop wood because I had my own family now. Like, all these stupid things that would make your jaw drop if you knew his demands behind very simple things. So I got to a point where I was like, I have to keep myself mentally well, or I could go downhill, because my dad's family, there's 11 kids in his family, and they've all been treated to some degree for mental illness, depression, anxiety. And my own great grandma, she died in a mental hospital. There was a point where she was raising kids and her husband was off in the war, and he sent home a check to help her take care of the family, and she lost the check. And she literally went crazy. She started burying things in her backyard, keeping everything. And unbeknownst to her, she was burying her daughter in the backyard, thinking it was a doll. And so there's just a lot of things that I was like, I could end up crazy if I don't put my mental health first, because I am not subscribing to this unseen illness that kills. And so I have been a little bit more aware of people who are going through it, because it is so incredibly unfair to judge somebody based on if you think they're in shape or not. Like, there's so much more to a person than what they look like. And so thank you for calling me an ally, because I really do try hard to recognize that people are so much more than what they put out there, and we're all dealing with something that you don't exactly share with the world. It's mostly the mental ailments that are very prevalent in my family. But every time you go to the doctor and you have to list all the family history stuff, cancer is it runs in my husband's family. He just got his, maybe I shouldn't share his medical information. He did the little spit test and got his results back, and we're like, okay, these are things we got to worry about now, because you could lose your eyesight a lot sooner than somebody might do that. So in my family, you know, bad knees, depression, gout, all of these things, diabetes. And my whole thing was like, no, thank you. I'm going to try to prevent it. But I also, knock on wood, and count my blessings that I was more aware of these things, because not everybody is gifted that. A good physical condition. You know, people think it's good genetics, but I'm a big believer in God gave you a body with specific abilities, and he gave other people a body and a mind with specific abilities. And it's so important that we pull out these blessings that we've been given and magnify them, not magnify all of what we think we need to do, but, you know, be grateful for the abilities that you do have. I've always put an extra emphasis on my physical health. And in my own personal experience, I recognize that my mind is the key to keeping my body healthy. So, but there's a lot of people that I am so blessed to be involved with that share their vulnerabilities and share their struggles, because that's what makes us have empathy for other people. Like, there's so many things that you don't know that people are dealing with, physical ailments that look like they're just fine, but they're not. Every single person that comes to me is fighting something completely different. So last year I wrote a book called The Accountability Code, Wake Up and Show Up. And the whole premise of that is to listen to the messages that you have on the inside, and then do your best so that you can physically follow through. And physically following through looks different for everybody. So I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago where a girl was talking about debilitating depression, that there are some days that she literally couldn't go get out of bed. And she said, okay, well, what do I do if I'm listening to a fitness person like you that says, you know, sleep, self-care, water intake, and movement? And I said, you know what? You really just got to start with one. And I said, if you know that you have the ability to get out of bed, but there's something that's holding you back, I said, why don't you drink your water? Because when the time comes, you're either going to pee the bed or you're going to get up out of your bed and go to the bathroom. And sometimes that's the challenge for the day. And that's totally fine to honor where you're at and what you're dealing with. But the whole premise of being accountable is recognizing, like, you're comparing yourself to you, not comparing yourself to everybody else and what their standards are, because once you do that, you're sure to fail. So understanding that everybody has their own battles to fight, and that's the only scale you got to worry about is super important. And that's one thing that I really try hard with each and every client is, like, it's not about you listening to me. This is about you listening to you, and then doing one thing to prove that you love yourself enough to keep going. I have been made aware of some people who are like, you're intimidating, or like, I can't do that because it's I'm not there yet. But really, one of the awesome things about the accountability code is that it will only work if you're honest. It will only work if you say, okay, here's what I know I need to do, and I'm ready to admit that what I've been doing is not working, and so I've got to do something a little bit different. So that's one of the things that I really try to make evident in my coaching and in my own personal way of being is no judgment. No shame whatsoever. You know, I had a client who came to me early on and she said, I want to work with you because I've seen and heard how you treat your clients. And she said, I just came from a personal trainer who told me I wasn't losing weight because I was eating saltines and M&Ms. And I was like, that's crazy because those little things don't matter. What matters is the emotions behind your own situation. So I had another client who she is gorgeous. If you saw pictures of her, you would be so irritated that she would ever say something negative about her physical image. Yeah. And one time on a call, she was like, well, it's just easy for you. Like, you don't have a ton of weight to lose. And I said, you know what? Being uncomfortable from 10 pounds or 50 pounds, uncomfortable feels the same. Disgust feels the same. Yeah. Failure, shame, it all feels the same regardless of the circumstances. So, I always hope that I can just create a space where people are willing to be honest and apply their own situation to themselves only, because that's the only way we're going to make progress.
I know that you do speaking, that you have a retreat. I think it's here in Hurricane. For somebody that thinks, hey, I maybe I'm not excluded, and I want to look into the genuine care that you have about the individual, and you start with wherever they're at, and they maybe want to get into conversations with you in terms of something that could really maybe change their life. Talk to me a little bit about what it is that you're doing. How did you get involved with that, and how someone would get a hold of you?
Okay, so first off, if somebody thinks they're excluded from being accountable, I want to know how you came to that conclusion, because we all have these messages that are God given that help us know there's more for us to do. So, what I do as a life coach is I specialize in accountability, and my nickname is Your Loving Kick in the Pants, because I'm going to make sure that you do the things you know you should, but there's a reason why it's called loving. And my clients will say, "You're not mean, but you don't sugarcoat things." So I usually say that it's dangerous information if you tell me something that you know you need to do, that you've been thinking about for a while. So, if you don't mind, can I share this?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So the accountability code is a 6-step process that helps you become aligned in your mind and your body so that follow through becomes easy and peaceful. Notice I did not say this is a 90-day intense workout program with meal plans and perfect eating. Like, that's not what this is. So even though my background is in personal training and nutrition, my ultimate goal is for you to feel 100% great about yourself so that when the time comes that you leave this earth, you feel good with the progress that you've made and you honestly love yourself the way God loves you. I am a religious, spiritual person, but if that's not you, totally fine. That's different. Okay. The first step of the accountability code is reflection. So that's thinking on your goals and your values and your problems. And this is a blessing because you can't get away from reflecting. You're constantly thinking about the things in your life that you wish were different, that you want to change, that you want to do. So reflection is getting a feel for, if I'm thinking about this all the time, it's probably time to do something about it, make a change or implement something. So the second step of the accountability code is humility. So humility is the ability to see, like, I'm a pretty awesome person, but I'm not all that in a bag of chips, or else I wouldn't be spending all this mental energy on something I haven't quite figured out yet.
Yeah.
So humility is where we step back and we say, okay, I'm ready to be vulnerable, and I'm ready to be honest with my situation so that I can move forward with help, whether it's spiritual help, community help, professional help. Humility is saying, I'm ready to learn and I'm ready to listen. The third step of the accountability code is planning, and that is a detailed proposal for achieving success. So this right here is where a lot of people fall off because they start to Google a plan for them, especially in the fitness space. How do I get a six-pack? How do I get a Brazilian butt? How do I lose 10 pounds in a week? Whatever it is, we find a plan, but we fail to recognize that the plan wasn't created for us. So after we've done some reflection and humility, we're ready to put together a plan that makes sense for us, that we're actually excited about. So that's kind of the overview. Then we go a little bit deeper and we say, then the fourth step of the accountability code is implementing. So that's putting into use your desired skills or values. And this is where people usually go, implementing, like, yes, this is where the kick in the pants comes, because implementing is putting into the actions that will make you feel successful even before your outcome is reached. So this is really important. So if you want to become a more spiritual person, then implementing prayers on a daily basis is going to help. If you want an increased, a better relationship with your spouse, then you're going to communicate them on a regular basis in a better way. So implementing is where we say, if you died tomorrow, what kind of progress could you implement today that would make you feel good about the direction that you're going? So that makes your plan more doable because it's not about the outcomes, it's about the process. Then we take it down a little bit further. And the fifth step of the accountability code is commitment. So that's dedicating yourself to a person or a cause. Now, the cool thing about commitments is that they're black and white. You either did it or you didn't do it. And this is where accountability is defined, because you can talk all day long. But until you actually prove that you did the thing that you care about, that's where the process is going to change. It makes or breaks it. So when I work with my clients, a commitment item, like I just did 10 client calls this week. Some of the commitment items are getting your family activities planned. so that you're not neglecting your family as you're working on your business. Another one is setting up your prayer streak so that you're consistent with your prayers. Another one is making a post on social media for the next thing that you plan to launch. It can be anything. But the cool part is like, I'm not telling you what to do. You already know what you need to do. I just know it now. So I'm going to ask you about it. So then the last step of the accountability code is feedback. Now, feedback is used as an information for improvement. So we're not going to know what you need to do until you actually go and experience something different and you get the feedback of, okay, what happened in my life because I did that commitment item? What did I notice? Who did I connect with? How do I feel about myself? So feedback is really just a way of saying, I'm aware of the change and I'm choosing to move in the direction of the goal that I want. So as a life coach, what I do is I help you get very clear with what you want, and we create the path of least resistance for you. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but it does mean that it's the appropriate challenge so that you become a better person today than you were yesterday. That's the beauty of the accountability code, is that I can't even make a judgment based on anybody's circumstance or their action plan until they decide. Okay, well, what does my reflection include? Because I can't do any of the steps. Like, accountability is not, I can't make you do your squats. I can't make you have a positive attitude. I can't make you have a good outlook on your situation. That's where the reflection comes in. And if somebody's mental energy is consumed with, this is just the suckiest part, please, God, take me today. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's where you start. That's where the reflection comes in. And I believe that everybody's got a belief system that is keeping them going, even if it's a teeny bit. But we all have to be willing to meet people where they're at. So for me to say, here's what the accountability code would do for that person, it's like, no, that's not true. The only thing I can promise the accountability code will do is help you bridge the gap between what you feel and what you're ready to do. So that's one thing that I'm so grateful to be able to do what I do, is because it has opened my eyes on a level that would have never been possible if I kept that mentality like every other trainer out there, like, no, do this, do this, do this. It's like, people don't care. Your loved ones, they don't care if you can get out of bed. They care how you treat yourself. They care how you view yourself. So one example in my book, there's a story called Always Ready. And this is a story that impacted me big time, because I was sitting in church one day and a lady, a friend of mine, she said that somebody was stuck in the snow. We were having a lesson on service, and she said, I can't go and push a car out of the snow. Like, it would be useless for me to try and help because I'm physically not able to do that.
Okay, yeah.
But she said, I can pray for them. That is something I can do and I'm willing to do, and I will pray for them. And I thought, you know what? That's something I can be more aware of. Just because I am physically able, you know what? It's probably more important to be able to offer that empathy and that spiritual strength from a power higher than me. So I said in my own life, okay, I'm going to pray for people, but I'm also going to physically try to push cars out of the snow if I can. So I learned from this lady that her contribution was worthy. Even though it's not the same desire as mine, it is worthy. And so this person became known for sending cards, for sending really good things, because she couldn't go out and make meals for people or help, but she could send a card in the mail from her computer. And I decided, I'm going to be like that person. So to tie it into the card I sent you, I learned that sending cards in the mail was a way for me to beat my depression.
Yeah.
Because you can't have any negative feelings when you're expressing gratitude. So for me, I had to learn that if my state is poor, or if I'm limiting, or I am recognizing the facts of something I've been a victim to, I can have gratitude. I can choose that. And so I think everybody just has to find what those messages are saying, and then say, I'm willing to do what I can. Please help me do the 1% thing that I can. And it's 100% fine if it's not the same as somebody else's contribution. The number one thing my goal is I never want anybody to feel alone or confused. And I hope that everybody who's watching, you give yourself a pat on the back, because you paying attention to such a strong resource, this video and all the great content that you and Nell put out, like, that's one of the very best places to start, is that you get to decide what your life is consisted of. You know, I had somebody ask me, they said, oh, you wrote a book on accountability. You have to like always be on top of your game all the time. And I was like, yeah, on top of my game, not your game. So whatever you think accountability means to you, I've already defined what it means to me. And that's what I hope every person does, because at the end of the day, you're stuck with yourself. So let's make sure that you like yourself and that you define what that top tier level of you looks like. I want everybody to know how awesome they are. Like, you have so much potential, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been plagued with, no matter what is happening in your life. Like, you are here for a reason, and you matter to people, and you matter to yourself. And I hope I didn't come off harsh, because I think the thing I get frustrated with the most is when people don't recognize their potential or their power or their spirit or their impact on people around them. So when it comes to accountability, just know, like, you're the boss. You get to decide what that next step is for you, and there's a plethora of people who want the best for you. I do my retreats. I'm 93% extroverted, and yes, I do run my business online, but nothing fills my bucket like a hug in person. And honestly, the biggest thing that I can do for my clientele is to create a community where people are not just getting my perspective, they're getting the strength and the perspective and the help of fellow people who have one goal in common: to be more accountable to what they know they need to do. So my retreats are a lot of fun, a lot of growth. I launched a podcast at my last retreat. So if you, no surprise, my podcast is called Your Loving Kick in the Pants. So we talk about all of my clients' stories and the transformations that they've been through. But this particular retreat that's coming up, I'm bringing the accountability code to life. So on the first day, we're going to talk about reflection, humility, and really get in touch with what spiritual growth looks like for us, or how we receive the messages that mean the most to us, and how to turn off all the other voices that maybe distract us. And then another day, we are going to jump into planning and implementing and really making a solid plan for improvement based on our own circumstances and our goals. There's a massive pool at this house with a hot tub, so I'm going to be teaching some aqua dance, which is great for being in the water. It's awesome. And then we're also going to talk about the last steps of the accountability code, which is commitment and feedback. So the bonus of coming in person is that you get to meet with people who you're going to be accountable with in a group and say, here's what I'm struggling with, here's a success that I had. So getting everybody together in person. And then we're going to end with a dance party, a glow-in-the-dark dance party. So my retreat is a lot of learning, but it's fun. This is like a very extended girls' night. So it's a 4-night retreat. All the food is included, all the materials, everything. And at my retreats, I like to feature as many of my clients as possible and give them opportunities to grow their business. So we're going to have a paint class and foot zones and massages and relationship coaching and trauma resolution and just a lot of things to fill your bucket, because the point of a retreat is to get away from the normal stuff and to really experience what a new way of living could look like as you take home those little bits and pieces that you say, oh, that was for me, I want to do more of that, or like, that experience was not my cup of tea, and you don't have to take it back. So but most of my coaching is done online. So if anybody is looking for a very loving kick in the pants, a lot of my coaching is available through online and phone calls. But at the end of the day, regardless of your goal or your environment, it is so important to surround yourself with people who want the best for you. So thank you for just creating the community that you have, because I know that it's such a strength. And if anybody out there is feeling like, I'd rather not try, there's people out there who need you, and they need your example, and they need to see your strength, because that is one of the most powerful things we can do to impact others, is to become a better version of ourselves and share it, not hide it. So the retreat is a really good way of saying, look at everybody, how awesome we are. We get to just magnify that together. Everybody can go to marcibarker.com. So it's MarciBarker.com. And on that bookmark site is everything. It's all of my social media. You can book a call, put it on my calendar. It's completely free. You can get my audiobook. I published a second book this year, and this has a lot more client stories in it. So if you feel like you actually want to work through the lessons that are in my book, I've created a workbook for you to do that. So this is available on Amazon. But at the end of the day, I want you to know I'm in your corner. Like you don't have to decide that I'm the coach for you for the rest of your life. But if you need a pep talk, if you need a loving kick in the pants, if you need a listening ear, I'm here for it.